There's an interesting case reported there last week, and it's to do with a Garda who drunkenly assaulted and racially abused a taxi driver while trying to seize his taxi or his vehicle, the taximan's vehicle. He's being sued in the High Court by the taxi driver. The background to the case, and it's an interesting one insofar as if you or anybody that you know is prosecuted with a criminal offence, then, and they've a good record, they've never had any convictions before, then they need to understand the difference between having a criminal conviction and getting the benefit of the Probation Act. And in this particular case, the guard in question got the benefit of the Probation Act, which some people would say was very generous on the judge's behalf. Other people would say it wasn't, it was a reasonable decision. The background is that the Garda drunkenly assaulted and racially abused a taxi driver. The Garda was called Dylan O'Loughlin. The driver was Muhammad Ali, who was from Kuwait. He called Mr. Ali scum and a black C **T and took his car keys during a dispute over a fare, court papers state. The taxi driver is now suing the Garda in the High Court, and I think he's suing in Garda Síochána as well in the High Court. And there's a criminal aspect to this as well, though. The court papers in the High Court claims that Mr. O'Loughlin, the guard, produced his badge during the incident and identified himself as a Garda before grabbing Mr. Ali by the neck, pushing him against the car and threatening to kill him. Mr. Ali now is suing him in the High Court. He's also suing on Garda Síochána, claiming that the Garda Síochána is liable for Mr. O'Loughlin's actions, as he was claiming to act under Garda powers during the incident. That's another interesting aspect of this. Remember, the legal proceeding in the High Court is a civil action, whereas there was previously a criminal prosecution of the guard in question. The matter has already been dealt with in the criminal courts following an investigation by the Garda Ombudsman Commissioner. In March, the guard, who was from Donegal but was stationed in Swords in Dublin, pleaded guilty in the district court to public drunkenness, threatening and abusive behaviour, assault and interfering with the mechanism of a car in the incident in Dublin on August 2021. He pleaded guilty, but he asked the judge to not impose a conviction, as it would cost him his job as a Garda. In other words, a Garda who is convicted of a criminal offence will lose his job. The judge called his behaviour utterly reprehensible, but did agree to strike out the matter, leaving the Garda without a conviction on condition he paid €5,000 to charity. That's €5,000 to the court poor box, as it's called, and that's under the Probation of Offenders Act. So he avoided a conviction and obviously stays on then as a Garda, unless the Garda force, Garda Síochána, decides to take some disciplinary action. He was suspended after the incident. The Garda press office would not confirm whether the guard remains a member of the force, saying that it does not comment on internal disciplinary matters. The incident began just after midnight when the guard and a female passenger got a taxi from Swords. The Garda fell asleep on the journey, and when he awoke he insisted on paying by card. The taxi driver, Mr. Ali, said he didn't have a card machine. Mr. O'Loughlin began to insult him and called him scum. Mr. O'Loughlin, then the guard, took out his badge and said he was a Garda before getting in the front seat of the taxi and going through the glove box and examining the receipt machine, according to court papers seen by the Irish Times. He pushed Mr. Ali and he threatened to arrest him before saying he was going to seize the vehicle. He repeatedly told the driver he'd lose his licence and insisted on inspecting the boot for a fire extinguisher. The Garda then sat in the driver's seat and took the keys, meaning that Mr. Ali was unable to leave. The driver suggested that they go to a Garda station to resolve the matter, but this was met by an onslaught of verbal abuse from Garda O'Loughlin and racial slurs, according to the papers filed in the High Court. When Mr. Ali asked Mr. O'Loughlin, the guard, to get out of the car, Mr. O'Loughlin followed him down the road, grabbed him by the neck and pushed him against the car. He then allegedly threatened to kill the driver and made more racist remarks. Mr. Ali then managed to escape the Garda's grip, and before running away and called the guards in Blanchardstown Garda station, Gardaí arrived then and arrested Mr. O'Loughlin, who made another racist remark, the papers state. Mr. Ali states he was left in a state of fear after the incident and that it caused him significant stress and anxiety. He said he stopped working full-time afterwards. So he's suing the Garda now, and he's suing on Garda Síochána arising from this incident. I presume he's suing on the basis that he has suffered some sort of a personal injury, psychological or stress-related, psychiatric-related injury as a consequence of this. The question of, or the suggestion of, living in a state of fear now. He was left in a state of fear would suggest that that's the route he's going down. But he'll also be suing for loss of earnings, perhaps loss of income, whatever else, I don't know. But the Garda and Garda Síochána are being sued in the High Court in a civil action, but the criminal action, and this is the lesson that you should take from this, if you face a criminal offence, a conviction rather, and you're brought to court, you're facing a criminal offence, a criminal charge, then you need to consider pleading guilty and hoping that you'll get the benefit of the Probation Act and thereby avoiding a criminal conviction, which would have serious consequences for your career and for travelling abroad and so on, or fighting the case and perhaps ending up with a conviction. If you lose, then you're in a difficult position. This guard pleaded guilty to the 3, 4, 5 offences with which he was charged, and he got the benefit of the Probation Act once he paid the $5,000 to the court poor box. And I would say that he found that $5,000 fairly quickly and fairly easily, because I think he got a pretty fair hearing and a fair deal from the judge in question. Other people will have a different view. Anyway, that's the lesson to be taken. I hope you find this useful. If you watch this on my YouTube channel, I'd appreciate if you subscribe to the channel and hit the like button down below. And if you are listening to it on my podcast, The Irish Law and a Small Business Podcast, on iTunes or on Spotify or wherever you might listen to your podcasts, I'd appreciate if you subscribed to my podcast and perhaps left a review. Thanks a lot.